Hi everyone, my name's Nina and I'm the founder of Modak Tutoring. In this video, I take you into one of my lessons and you're going to be my student. So, for safeguarding purposes, the voices of and names of my students have been edited out. But we will be looking at essay writing. What is an essay? How is an essay structured? And how to go about thinking about it. When we have an essay, the way you can think about it, you know, when you were saying it's kind of like a story, you're leading your reader on a journey of some sort. Well, yes, you are correct in a way, because, for example, if we're looking here at the side on the left, your essay can be thought about like you've got stepping stones. So you go from one idea to the next idea, to the next idea, to the next idea, to the next idea, and so on, until you lead them down to your final conclusion, your final point that persuades them and say, here's my light bulb moment, for example. I think it's great, but here is why. And you go from idea 1 to idea 2 to idea 3, etc. So it could be as long as you need it to be. Now, when we are looking at how we do that, so we've mentioned that we need an introduction, we need a conclusion, and we need body paragraphs. So let's look at what we do in an introduction. So I know it's on the screen right now, so let me see if I'll take it off for a moment. So if you're thinking about what you need to include in an introduction, what do you remember? What's the point of an introduction? Yes. Yes, exactly. Very good. So yeah, you are going to introduce what you're going to talk about. You're going to tell your reader, here is my argument, and this is the way I am going to discuss it. Now, one of the ways also, you remember when we were analysing the essay question last time, we did a lot of definitions of words. So, why do you think we need to do definitions of words? Why might that be helpful? Exactly. And what about your reader? Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, your reader will not have a clue if you don't have a clue. Or you have one idea and they have another idea. And if you haven't given a definition as to this is what you understand by this word, and I often refer to them as parameters, your definitions are kind of like parameters in a way. You're saying, this is the definition of this word, and this is the definition I will be discussing or arguing within this essay. Because, as I said, your essay has a certain number of words. And although at this point, writing 1,000, 2,000 word essay might seem like a lot of words, the more you write, the more you'll find that it's really not enough words. It's a strange thing to think and to go through, but it is true. At one point I'll give you write 1,000 word essay and you'll be like, oh please, can I have more words? Yeah. Okay. When you are also doing your introduction, now within literature, and remember in the syllabus we were looking at different, I think there was a list of literary theories like feminist theory, postmodernist theory, different, those sorts of things. Eco-theory, I think, was one of them. Do you remember? Okay, so we are going to be looking at those when we're analysing literature because they're different points of view. Now, remember when you're doing GCSEs, they say give a for and an against, give a balanced point of view. You're going to do something similar in A-level, except it's not just your point of view you're going to be weighing up. And it's not like when I think they do this more in history and religion. I'm not sure if you took those at GCSE or not. Okay. Or sometimes they'll say, well, some people think this and some people think that. Well, in your A-level essays, it's not just some people think, it will be these people think, as in feminist scholars or eco scholars or postmodernist scholars. These people, and then you'll actually say the name of one because you will have read their opinion. You will use that to argue with yourself in the essay. And you will, the way that we can really start developing your essay, and I'm going to start showing you how to do this, is you introduce a problem. And what I mean by that is everyone has different opinions on things. And what you can do in your essay to make it valuable, because this is the thing when you're doing things at A-level, GCSE, university, like who reads your essays? Yourself? Who else? Anyone else? Yeah. So, teachers, classmates, someone to help you improve it or someone to mark it. Why do your teachers read your essay? Yes. So that is true. It does help you. But the reason that your teachers actually mark your essays and give you feedback is because they get paid to. That is the... No. I mean, it's almost so blunt and no one says it, but it's the truth. Your teachers read your essays because they get paid to read your essays. That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But because of that, and because they have many, when we look at essays and how we improve our writing, at least in the beginning, is we make it as clear, simple and concise as possible so that they don't have a hard time reading it, especially for exams. But also, if you want to take your essay to the next level, which is what we're going to be working on over the course of this year, next year, is we are wanting to produce an essay that is actually valuable, meaning we want to introduce a problem within the field that we're studying. So in this case, it'd be literature. And then we're going to provide a solution to it. So let's look. And this, when we're looking at essays, persuasive essays, you're going to argue something. But we don't really argue something if we're not trying to change someone's mind. And that means there is an issue that we want to solve. And if we think about it in that way, we can also find ways to use our language well to make the essay interesting. Okay. Okay, questions so far? Okay, let me say back to you so make sure I understood what you say. So in an introduction, you're going to present the problem and like the other people's points of view, but you have your opinion. Do you introduce other people's points of view throughout the essay and keep your opinion? Is that what you're... Yeah, so this is where GCSE and A-level is going to differ very, very much. So in GCSE, it's almost like they don't want you to have an opinion, at least the way they teach it. It's not actually the way they mark it, but with the way they teach it, which I personally disagree with, and I don't teach so much when I'm teaching GCSE, is yes, the reason why they want you to focus on other people's points of view is to build a well-rounded understanding of the topic and to not be insular, meaning in your own head all the time in your essay. So the difference in A-level is that you are going to have a point and you're going to present an argument, and you are going to keep that opinion throughout the essay. Now, if you didn't keep that opinion throughout the essay, and in the introduction you said, I'm going to argue this, and then by the end of the essay you said, well, actually the answer's this, what do you think your reader, or what do you think you would think if you read an essay like that? Exactly. Exactly. That is problematic for an essay, an academic essay. It doesn't matter in a different essay that you change your opinion, but in one essay, you're going to stick to your opinion, your answer to the question. You are going to use other people's opinions. However, the way you use other scholars' opinions in this case is to show how your opinion, your argument, and the evidence you're presenting is still superior. You're going to use these other scholars' points of view to say, I've thought about all the different aspects of this problem, this idea, and here's where these scholars have their plus points, but in this part, there may be lacking. Or you've got this scholar actually agrees with my point of view because they found X, Y, and Z in their interpretations and their reading because of this, that, and the other. And this further supports my point because. So it's a continual process of point, evidence, explain, evaluate, and then evidence, evaluate, evidence, evaluate. So, you know, in GCSE, you only have to give like 2 pieces of evidence. You're going to be giving so much more. Yes, absolutely. So you won't use all of this in the introduction. You'll still just introduce in the introduction. But when you go into the body of the essay, so down here is where you'll be using your supporting evidence, so other scholars, as well as counter evidence. So here let's look at this. So when you include what you include in a paragraph, so a body paragraph, within your introduction, you'll state how you will argue your point, which you have stated already. Now, when it comes to paragraph structure, did they teach you peel or pearl or something like that? Peel, yeah, so point, evidence, explain, link. So what we're going to do is we're going to expand on point, evidence, explain, link. When you do, you will have a point. That is absolutely, you need to make a point in the first sentence of your paragraph, because this introduces the idea that you're going to discuss in this paragraph. So remember, one paragraph, one idea. And then sentences are thoughts that support that idea, that expand on the idea. You will need, I would suggest you need at least 3 pieces of evidence, at least, per paragraph. And then the part of your paragraph that's really going to change now that you're going into A-level is the evaluation that you do within your paragraph, the evaluation of the evidence. So let's have a look at what evaluate means. What do you think? Okay, what does that mean? Okay, so a summary of evidence. Evaluate doesn't mean a summary. Have you heard? Okay, that's fine. So evaluate is you are weighing things up. You are looking at the strengths, the weaknesses, the shortfalls. You'll be looking at why is it strong? Why is it weak, and to what extent? So if we're looking at strengths and weaknesses, what do you think we're going to look for? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, but is it it's a weakness to your argument, but does that mean the evidence is weak? Okay, good. Yes. So we could have a very strong piece of evidence against our argument. And how could we use a strong piece of evidence against our argument to our advantage? Good. Yes. So the contradictory evidence, meaning the evidence against your point, could be a way that it forces you to evaluate what evidence you do have, force you to evaluate the strength or weakness of your own argument, and push you towards thinking of it in a new way. Yes, absolutely. And we can talk about that in an essay. This is the beauty of an essay. You can show something that's against your argument or for your argument and think, okay, this person has done it really well on this one side. However, here's how we can expand on this, or it can lead you to new questions. So this is, even from now, think about, what questions do I have? If you're reading anything, actually, if you're reading the newspaper, if you're reading like a blog post, if you're reading social media posts, think about what questions come to mind. And I really want you to be aware of this, because people write things on social, like on Instagram, on Facebook, on whatever other social medias there are. And you can think, well, do I agree with what they're saying? Why or why not? So I want you to do that. Just while you're flicking through Facebook or Instagram, and think, do I actually agree with what this person's saying? Why or why not? And it could be something really technical, or it could be to do with, I don't know, whatever's going on in the news at the time. And if you don't agree, I want you to think about, why don't I agree? Or you can think about, why do I agree? Because sometimes when we agree with something, we don't even evaluate why we agree with it. We just accept it as, yeah, that's right. But actually, when we're thinking critically and we're reading critically, we want to know why we agree or disagree. And that's really important when we're writing a persuasive essay, because your reader is going to be that person saying, well, why should I believe you? And we have to almost be one step ahead, so that when we're writing our essay, when we're evaluating our evidence, when we're comparing and we're contrasting, meaning we're looking at the similarities and the differences, the strengths and the weaknesses, and weighing them up against each other, we can say, well, yes, we think, reader, you're going to have this reaction. And then you present another piece of evidence and say, well, with that reaction, one would assume this, but here is something else. And you do that in your body paragraphs in a logical manner. So what I mean by a logical manner is that you lead your reader on a journey almost. And the basic way I like to describe this is, you start with your weakest point and you lead to your strongest point, so that you can build the argument through your essay. Because if the aim is to persuade your reader, then you don't want to start with your most important point and then go to your weakest point, because you just disappoint your reader by the end. And they go, well, is that all you've got? But we want all your points to be strong, but we just want the strongest at the end. So you want to almost build the tension and the persuasion. And then just before we do the conclusion, I just want to go to this idea of explanation versus argument. So we talked about it a little bit. So descriptive versus argument. So an argument, we're trying to persuade our reader to a different point of view. So an explanation, we will at some points need explanations, but you cannot have an essay that is full of explanations and descriptions, because it's not persuasive. It's information. It's like reading the encyclopedia, basically, or the dictionary. Those are explanations, they're descriptive. But the whole point of an essay is not to be that. That is, you will get average minimum marks. You'll get like a C or a D for those kind of essays, because your examiner will say, well, it was written okay, but it had no point to it, so it didn't answer the question. Okay, and then conclusion. So your conclusion is, what do you know about the conclusion? Yeah, exactly. So your conclusion is a summary of of your argument and all the ideas that you've talked about in the essay itself. You'll restate, like you don't say anything new in the conclusion. It is probably the simplest paragraph of the entire essay in a way, because we're not discussing new ideas. Actually, it's very important that you do not discuss new ideas in your conclusion. It's incredibly confusing if you discuss a new idea in your conclusion. Why do you think that might be? Yes, exactly. Your reader will be confused and they'll say, well, why haven't you included in this in the rest of the essay if it was so important? Why have you introduced it now and then finished the essay? Like, it just confuses and annoys the reader. You want, by this point in your conclusion, that your reader is persuaded to your point of view. So it's all about just drawing it together, summing it up, and finishing everything up, and relating back to your essay question as well. So conclusion, nothing new. State your opinion, state your argument, restate what you argued, final conclusion. That's it. Oh, if it's important, it should go in body of essay. Yeah, so if it is important, if you come up with a new idea and you want to include it in your conclusion, you need to evaluate whether it's actually important or not. If it is important, move it to the body of your essay. If it's not really that important, you're just throwing it in at the last minute, don't include it, because it will detract from the strength of your essay as a whole. Now, the difference between exam and coursework is, in coursework, if you come up with a good idea and it's the conclusion, you have time to go back and check the whole structure of the essay and see whether you should include it or not. When it comes to an exam, too late by the time you've written your conclusion, it shouldn't go in, basically. Unless by some miracle you have time to write a whole other paragraph that won't mess up the rest of the essay. But doubtful. Thanks for joining me in today's class. If you'd like to know more about essay writing, I have a whole blog series all about how to write an essay, but not just that, how to brainstorm the question, plan, research, and once you've written the essay, how to proofread and edit it. If you've got a question, don't forget to leave it in the comments, and of course, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss a video ever again. Good luck with your studying, and I'll see you in the next one.